Hello again. It's that time for Hot Takes with Kari and Keelan. This is episode number 28. I am Kari Rae Davis with Kari Sells the City.
And I'm Keelan Harvey with the Harvey Home Team.
So, Keelan, we've had a lot happening since we last posted. We had an election for one thing, and then we've also had the Fed cut rates. Most recently, they had a meeting yesterday. So, I wanted to touch a little bit on what you think that means for what we're going to see here in the future.
Yeah, so the Fed cut rates by a quarter. We thought it was going to happen. The odds makers like 90%, but we were kind of not sure though because we got some funky job reports and data in that, it might have affected their decision. And so, but sure enough, they stuck to the course. They reduced by a quarter, which to clarify, I've had a lot of conversations with customers and stuff. Immediately people think that mortgage rates go down a quarter if they reduce rates. And that's not the case. The Fed's fund rate is not directly tied to mortgage rates. It's tied to variable rates, short-term debts, credit cards, things like that.
Okay.
But not mortgages. Will it help mortgages? Absolutely, but it's just not an immediate thing. Eventually, it's going to steer mortgages down. It's just not kind of right away. And there's going to be other compensating factors, data and such that are also going to help with that too.
Well, and I think that people believe that when the Fed cuts the rate, that it automatically transfers into lower mortgage interest rates. And we saw that with the last cut that they did, where they cut it by half a percentage, and the rates didn't really come down. I felt like they came down prior to that announcement, with people anticipating that announcement, but when it actually happened, it seems like the rates have gone up a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, another thing with rates too, a lot of people, because of the election, a lot of people put money in the stock market. Stock market's going bonkers, not good for bonds, which also affects mortgage rates too. So there's just lots of, things going on, going on, and the market's very volatile right now. It's really a weird time. I'm glad the election's over because I'd love to see some normality in our market. Like any little piece of data comes out, it just seems like the market's very emotional right now. There's big swings just on the littlest things in data. So just to have some normality would be great. And it's not a little bit, it's a lot more predictable. I mean, steering up to this thing, we had, a couple bad jobs reports, so much so that they adjusted jobs by 800,000, right? And
Right.
then all of a sudden we got a great jobs report out of left field right before the election, which did us dirty on rates. So we've been in this spiral, but fortunately they've bounced back. Last couple of days have been good for rates. So
Have they?
we're
Okay.
bouncing back a little bit,
I
but we've
know
done
we're
a
not
lot.
supposed to talk rate specifically, but can you kind of give
Yeah,
us a general idea of like where they're sitting?
seven, well, seven-ish. I'll just give you a
Okay.
range, not quoting rates or anything,
Right.
but it's pretty sad because in September we were six, like low six, and then so quickly we got that jobs report and it just never got better all the way to the election. And now we're taking a turn. We know rates are going to get better in the long haul. There's going to be ups and downs, but obviously an election is a huge deal. So,
Sure.
and leading up to that election. So, that's over behind us, and let's hope now we're trending. Last couple of days we've done pretty well. Let's hope we're trending to better rates and continuing. But the Fed said that they're going to continue to drop rates through the year, which is great news for the future. They have to, right? We got to get to a neutral rate,
Right.
which some say two and a half, three. I've heard three and a half neutral. I mean, now we're up 4.675, somewhere around there. So they got to get that rate down to a neutral rate eventually.
So
So
when
we
you say neutral rate, I want you to explain that a little bit better for everybody so they understand what you mean by that, a neutral rate.
absolutely. So not inflationary, right? So
Okay.
yeah, not inflationary. When the Fed's fund rate's high, it's inflationary. So they got to get it down to neutral, being no inflation, right? It's just
Okay.
neutral. So that's the goal. That's where they want to be, and we'll get there eventually. And I mean, there's lots of talks too, like with Trump, and then the tariff situation could be inflationary. I mean, whoever won on both sides, we're talking about spending money. Spending money is creates more inflation. So markets reacting to everything right now. So we just need it to smooth out a little bit.
Yeah, everybody just needs to relax and take a deep
Everybody
breath.
chill out, chill out. And I don't think the tariffs are going to work that way. You know what I mean? Like, so I think everything's going to be fine, and we're going to be in good shape.
I think we just have to kind of buckle in and be patient and see what happens. And this is what you and I do on a regular basis is buckle in and see what happens, right? Because we're
Exactly.
constantly dealing with the ebb and flow and the roller coaster of what we're dealing with, whether, we're dealing with the high interest rate or a lower interest rate and what that means for our clients and what our strategy is to combat the situation. Um,
Yeah.
but it would be nice to, have things come down a little bit just to ease everybody's anxiety and to move the market a little bit. How are things going for you and your other clients? Are you having a lot of people making moves right now?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's historically slow right now, right?
Right.
But it's sped up pretty good actually last couple of months. Slowed down a little bit recently. I mean, before the election, I think everybody's just kind of in a holding pattern,
Right.
wanting to see what's going to happen with the election before they make moves, which I'm glad that we're past that now. So, and election isn't going to affect things immediately. It's kind of, it makes me wonder why I get it why people do that. Like you want to wait, but nothing's going to change. What things are going to happen are going to be down the road if anything changes, right?
Right. Well,
I'd say
I
we're
think everybody needs to understand that there needs to be some time for these things to transition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you regardless of how we cut it, we have very low inventory. There's a huge
Super low
demand,
inventory.
super
Like
low
I just had
inventory.
a closing with some clients earlier
Yeah,
this week, and I was so grateful that we got a house and we picked the house that we did because
yeah,
there has been nothing that has come out since then that was worth anything to us anyway. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, super low inventory, huge demand. Rates have come down. They're better than they were. You know what I mean? So we're
right.
just kind of hanging out in this area. I think, this short little spree that we had of them getting worse has slowed people down. But hopefully we're turning the corner now. And, I'm telling you, as rates get lower, right, it's just going to get crazier. And then I think when they get low enough, people are going to start wanting to sell and be step up buyers. It'll get us more inventory. So
Right.
I think we're going to have an exciting couple of years coming up. But I don't think it makes sense for anybody to wait. If you have the ability to get in, there's an opportunity. So,
Well, and I think it's worth having these conversations that depending on what's happening in the market and depending on what your financial ability is, we strategize based on the time.
yeah.
And, having those interest rates go up slightly just over like that month, I feel like it was like 4 weeks where it was good for like 3 or 4, and then it kind of came back up again. We
Hmm.
were able to get some buy down for our buyers for rate. And so just making sure that if you're out there searching for a home, having those conversations with your mortgage professional and your real estate broker about what you need at the time so we can make sure that we're asking for it in the situation and trying to get you the best deal that we can.
Well, and I feel like there's opportunity in that, right? If everybody's sitting down and pause, now's the time to strike, and get
I
out there and
agree.
find something, So I don't look at it. I mean, what's the difference in payment? Like 50, 75, maybe $100, depending on your purchase price. It's not going to make or break your situation. So if you
Right.
find something out there, that could be an opportunity for you to swoop something up. Market's weird right now. I've seen anything from seller credits to multiple offers. Like, I think it's so dependent on the house
I
and like
agree.
how it's presented and so people are firing when the good ones come along, but
Yeah.
it's just a pretty weird market right now.
Yeah, it's been interesting to kind of see what's happening, like I said, with my buyers that I'm working with. And then I have a listing that I went live with last night, and we might already be getting an offer. And so I haven't seen anything. I haven't spoken with my sellers about it yet, but it's just like I'm glad to hear that. It's like, okay, well, we did a good job if, first person that sees it wants it. So, just kind of riding the wave. But I think it's kind of what we're talking about. If you see something that's attractive that looks good, you don't want to sit around and wait for something else.
Yeah, and it's because you did a good job at listing it, right? I mean, because you always
Yeah.
do a great job at listing it. But we were talking about that the other day about how I don't want to talk bad about certain agents, but it's shocking to me about like how people are okay with listing properties the way that they are. And in this market, that's what we're seeing. The seller credits are the ones that people are just, it's not attractive, so they can't sell it. It's so important
Right.
for it to be looking sharp and ready to be on market.
Well, and I appreciate you bringing that up because I may not talk about that all of the time, but going out and looking with these past buyers, we were trying to suss out anything that was remotely an opportunity.
Hmm.
And, one of the partner and I went out and we saw like probably 18 houses in 2 days just to see anything that was remotely interesting, just to cross them off the list so her partner could see what we thought were worth looking at. And we were
Yeah.
shocked at some of the conditions of these listings, whether they were super dirty or there was no, care taken into staging them. And I know sometimes, people are opting for virtual staging, but I really feel that you have to be careful with that because you as a buyer are looking at pictures online and you may not have a trained eye to understand that that's not real furniture, it's staging, it's digital. And then when you walk into a home and you see that there's zero furniture in it and it doesn't have that impression that it's not the house that you thought you were going to see, I think it can kind of work opposite and it leave a bad taste in your mouth. And so it was really interesting for her and I to go out and see so many homes just in poor quality condition, not very clean. I feel like sometimes people feel like they can just put a sign in the ground and it's going to sell. And I just don't feel like that's the right strategy. I know when I put a listing together, I put a lot of time and energy into making sure it is picture perfect because you really only get one chance to make a good impression. And,
Absolutely.
I appreciate Keelan how you said that to me the other week. Like, I should be going out more and looking for more listings to let people know what I do for them because they deserve my services.
They
So,
do.
yeah,
They do. I mean, you're a great agent and people deserve to, and the reality is you have this asset. You get one chance at that and people buy what they feel. If it stinks, if they think it's dirty, if it makes you feel a certain way, you're
right.
just not willing to go there. And like the idea is to get multiple people interested, right? And get multiple people bidding on the home so you can get top dollar for it. So, you get a discounted service, you're going to get discounted everything and
That's
it
right.
equals big bucks when you're selling a home, you
Well,
got.
there's so much that goes into it, and it is a lot of work to sell a house. I mean, unless you've done it, you don't understand like getting the house ready, prepping, making sure that there aren't any glaring problems that, a buyer isn't going to be wanting to take over. And you have to think about who is your target audience. Like sometimes, okay, maybe you're looking for somebody that wants to do a flip or somebody that wants to fix up their own home, but most of the time that's not the average buyer. Most of the time the average buyer really wants to come into something that isn't going to take any money to fix up because they're putting all of their money into just getting into the home. So the more friendly you can make it to somebody that doesn't have any money after the fact, the better you're going to be off. So it's better for a seller to go ahead and make some of those investments and make sure there aren't any problems that are going to come up at an inspection just to ensure that you're not going to have any hiccups and you're going to be successful getting to the closing table.
Well, and the flip side too, you don't overdo it, right? There's people that get a little too crazy where it's like not necessary, or nor are you
Right.
gonna ever get your money back out of it. I
Right.
can't tell you how many conversations I've had with buyers about like projects and things that are gonna add zero value to their home and it
Right.
could cost them a lot of money. So keeping your eye on the ball and making sure you're only focusing on what's really gonna create the biggest impact is also super important.
And that's why it's good to consult with your agent too, because
Yeah.
one of the things I do for my clients before we list is we walk through and we talk about anything that we can do to improve the house. Carpet and paint are the easiest things. I mean, most all of the listings I've had this year, actually, we've done new carpet and paint in. And it's made a huge difference because it's just, I mean, I've had more than one client say to me this year, "Oh my gosh, Kari, this doesn't even look like my house." And I said, that's the point because it's not yours anymore. We want
I
somebody
love
else
it.
to be buying it. It's not yours. So,
Yeah, I love
it's
it.
just making sure you're working with people that are going to work hard for you. That's
That
that's
can equal
that's
big
my point.
That can equal big money too. You're going to spend a little bit of money, but the reality is a sales price increase, you get a second party interested and they're bidding against each other.
Right.
$20,000 is nothing in these transactions or, 30, 40, $50,000
Yeah,
can
depending on the
happen real
price point.
quick. Yeah, it
Yeah.
can happen real quick. So,
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple months. I mean, this was a big week, election week, seeing who won and seeing, who's transitioning into the White House and finding out what's going to happen. It'll be interesting to see kind of what those markers are as we progress into the next year.
well, I was happy to see the Fed's committed to reducing rates still, which is good, and get inflation down, which is good. So,
Right.
because not all the data necessarily aligns with them doing reductions. So, but they're finally, what I really liked is what they said and looking under the hood and looking at some of the other data, like you know how I talk about it doesn't look so pretty under the surface.
Right.
That's why they did that reduction is because this is the first time he's mentioned looking kind of under the hood and things that are affecting inflation and jobs and all that. And I think they made the right call. So let's hope they do another one in December.
Okay.
And
And is that how it
we'll
works?
see.
Is every month? Is the Fed meets every month, right?
No, they
No?
skip some
Okay.
months. Yeah, not every month,
Okay.
but yeah, almost.
Almost. Well, it'd be great
Yeah,
if it just kept coming, keep coming down, and then it'll be interesting because January 2025 is right around the corner, and I know
crazy.
usually January is a big month in real estate. For some reason, right after the holidays, everybody's is looking to move. So it'll be fun to have these conversations as we go.
I think after the new year, I think the market's going to really dramatically turn, and I think we're going to get busy. I think in springtime it's going to be nuts. I think this spring is going to be hardcore. I think because rates, I feel like if we already touched down on sixes, I don't see why we wouldn't be back to sixes as rates go down as the year goes on. And I can tell you when we touch sixes, the phones were blowing up. Like there's
Right.
a lot of demand out there. So hold your horses or don't hold your horses. Find something now before the craziness is the
Right.
reality.
Well, and then just realize you can, like, if you've got the higher interest rate now, you can refinance when it comes down. So
Exactly.
anyway, so thanks, Keelan. I'm excited to have these conversations with you, and thank you so much for your
Cool.
expertise.
Well, thank you for all the people you serve and your amazing listings.
Oh, yay! Thank you. All right. Well, have a good weekend. Till next time.
Till next time.